So, Tony, I'm very excited to talk to you in the Living Ideas podcast, episode 12. Seems amazing that we've done that many.
Yeah.
Um, as you know, I texted you a couple weeks ago now, coming out of the new Star Wars movie, The Mandalorian and Grogu. And honestly, I was kind of bored at the movie. I was trying to find a way to make it interesting to myself. The performances were great. I wasn't, it's just the script. It just seemed like battle after battle, not to quote another movie. And it seemed like monster after monster after monster, just kind of nonstop. And I think part of me wanted to dwell on the monsters. I wanted them something to happen to them other than them being killed or being really cute and stuck in the Mandalorian's backpack. And I thought, I need to talk to Tony about this. You were the person I thought of immediately. I'm like, Tony will know all about the purpose of monsters. I thought, what is the purpose of monsters? And so, Tony, this is your show today. I will prompt you and poke you with questions if I need to, but
I'm glad to hear that.
really interested in what in the world is the purpose of monsters. What is all this about? And of course, monsters are everywhere right now.
Yes, and they most certainly are, and it's interesting because I'm very interested in monsters right now too, uh, and I've been writing a lot about mythology and how we can use it in our lives today to deal with some monstrous things and some monstrous people and some monstrous feelings that we're having.
Mhm.
And I've got this quote that I've always loved that I want to read to you from Joseph Campbell
Mm.
that really helps establish it. And he says, "The figure of the tyrant monster is known to the mythologies and even the nightmares of the world, and his characteristics are everywhere essentially the same.
Mm.
Avid for the greedy rights of my and mine, he's self-terrorized, fear-haunted, alert at every hand to meet and battle back the anticipated aggressions of his environment, which are primarily the reflections of the uncontrollable impulse to acquisition within himself.
Mm.
So monsters are projections of what's going on in our mind. Um, and the great mythologists were very clear about that.
Mm.
Um, the other thing about monsters that always strikes me is we are told in the great myths and the great ancient stories that monsters are a part of nature. They're natural. They
Mm.
belong here as much as we do. Um, in the Epic of Gilgamesh, this is the first time in written history that a monster appears that we know of, that we found
Mm.
records of. This is 4,000 years ago.
Okay.
Uh, the hero Gilgamesh and his companion Enkidu decide to attack a monster named Humbaba. And Humbaba is, as every monster is, the favorite of a few gods. The myth makers want us to know that the gods create the monsters.
Mm.
They are not they're not an aberrant thing. They're there for a reason. And Gilgamesh doesn't care. He goes and kills Humbaba. Although he's terrified. He and Enkidu sit down and sob. They're so frightened, but then they kill him. And then
Mm.
they kill the bull of heaven, which is a very foolish thing to do because bull of heaven is the favorite of the goddess Isis, who was the most powerful deity that they knew of at that time. And the gods punished them. They decide to put Gilgamesh to death because of it. And they say, wait a minute, we can't do that. He's part God himself, so we're going to have to put his friend to death. That'll teach him. And they do, and there's great suffering as a result of it.
Mm.
Um, so monsters are voices that frighten us.
Mm.
They are our projections on the world.
Mm.
They're very real, and they are astonishing because if we fight them, This is another thing a lot of the commentators on mythology talk about. When you fight a monster, you end up taking on monstrous qualities yourself.
Mm.
They, when you wrestle with monsters, and the thing that they want us to know is you've actually got to fight the monster hand to hand. You
Mm.
need to get in there and really fight it. In another way of looking at that is when we are frightening ourselves with terrible thoughts, when we're projecting monstrousness on the world,
Mhm.
we need to get in there and struggle with that personally. We need to be willing to open our minds and our hearts and take a look. What's going on here? What am
In
I
ourselves.
in ourselves? It's really about that. And you'll notice that in all the ancient traditions, the way people dealt with monsters, they would fight the monsters, but they would have rituals. They would have cleansing rituals.
Before or after?
Both, both, and cleansing so that they could get it straight. And what would happen in the cleansing ritual before is the gods would start fighting. Like, wait a minute, that's my favorite monster. Now that monster needs to die.
Mm.
It's lovely because in the, I don't know about you, but I'm very confused right now. The world is confusing and complex, and I don't know
Mm.
what to do about it. And these great myth masters are going, "You bet it is." Here we are, 4,000 years ago, telling you it's very confusing, and now we read it later and go, "It's still confusing." And they go, "Yep, yep."
Mhm.
So what you do is you cleanse yourself afterwards, and what you begin to realize is the monster. Every culture gets the monsters it needs. In America right now, some of us feel there's some monstrosity happening. It's our monstrosity. It
Mhm.
comes out of who we are.
Mm.
The things that we are deploring, we've created, and it's pretty obvious.
Mhm.
And there's a writer who I really love who talks about these things brilliantly. Wole Soyinka, Nigerian writer who won a Nobel Prize many years ago for his beautiful, beautiful writing. He talks about monsters the way an anthropologist would, or about rituals. But his language is so beautiful because he's not going to appeal to our mind. He's going to appeal to our mind and our hearts and our bodies.
Mm.
He's going to appeal to all of it. And in the wisdom you feel that it's coming out of you because you've been touched so deeply that what happens is you start listening and noticing the world in a better way. And what Slankin points out is that all the rituals of cleansing that happen are communal rituals. So in a ritual, often an individual is set up and they have to confront a monster or a set of fears.
Mm.
They do it in front of everyone there. And there's drumming and there's firelight and there are other things that happen to as Joseph Campbell said, the purpose of the drumming in the ancient myths is to make our heartbeat match the beat of the universe. We get in alignment with the universe and with the cosmos through this. And,
Mm.
I'll just say, if you haven't been in an African ritual lately, I've never been in one. I wish I had. Um, but I've been to rock concerts, I've been to operas,
Mm.
I've been to theaters where all of a sudden I felt this connection to everybody and everything, and I felt this elation, and I felt the beauty of everything, and I knew that it was coming out of me. It comes out of all of us.
Mm.
Our connection, and so the healing that can happen when we confront monsters, if we go inside and take a look at ourselves, the healing is that we begin to see how connected we are to the universe.
Mm.
We're connected to those monsters too.
Mm.
And Svanka says when an individual in a ritual is performing an act that is cleansing, the whole community is cleansed.
Mm.
And in Africa, he said they recognize that. They understand that there is no separation between individual and community.
Mm.
Um, and of course, this is an ancient understanding in the rest of the world as well. One of the beauties of Plato to me is his insistence over and over again that the good life of the community is inseparable from the good life of the individual. And I think that a monster comes along and creates that recognition in our guts. I mean,
Mm.
that's the other thing that's important. A monster is supposed to frighten us. A monster is supposed to concern us. If a monster really does their work well, we won't quite know who we are anymore. We will be so concerned and frightened that we will realize that the way we've been looking at the world doesn't work. I mean, we can get scared right out of our minds, and we need to be. Now, in a ritual, there are wise people there who create the boundaries so that it's not too frightening. And that's the
Mm.
beauty of ritual, I think.
Mm.
You can go to dangerous places, and the risk is not terrible. But Malidoma Somé writes beautifully about African rituals, and he points out that in the initiation ritual he went through with the Dogra people, his people, every once in a while one of the boys dies. It's rough stuff. This was true with the Greek rituals as well.
Mm.
So if the monsters are frightening, they're real. And in frightening us, they may frighten us right out of our rather childish beliefs in ourselves and in the world and being what is kind of like the Buddhists would say, it's stripping you of your ego.
Mm-hmm.
And when that happens, when you've been stripped of your ego, if it's done properly, you begin to develop a compassion for yourself.
Mm.
You begin to see what you've been through and how hard it's been. You begin to see how brave you are just to be around. You begin to feel a warmth for yourself.
Mm.
And you begin to feel the connection that is so healing.
Mm. There's so much you've said that's so powerful. You're saying that monsters are designed to frighten us out of our minds. And you've called that mind childish. And I think I see what you mean. And it's kind of the same old mind, the mind that has kept us where we are, that
Yes,
has kept us small,
yes.
that has kept us childish, that has kept us reactive. And so everything you're saying, um, the gods, the community, going out of the mind, it's all a way of getting bigger if we allow it to happen that way. Um,
Exactly. The
I
word that Saranka uses about that is human extension. That
mean,
our work is to extend our
mm,
awareness and to expand our awareness of the world so that it takes in what Malidoma calls the unseen world that we keep pretending doesn't exist. But we do know all about gravity. We all know about electricity, but we didn't know
time.
anything else.
Yeah, time is another example. It's like all these things that we don't see, but we've agreed by consensus, cultural consensus, to let certain things rule our lives, but we don't address directly what we now call the unseen, what you're calling the gods. And I think there's some non-dualism in what you're saying, that the gods are us, the monsters are us,
Absolutely.
the universe is us, the community is us. And not to make that overwhelming, that's just kind of baked into the process. I mean, it's known that the creators of Star Wars were inspired by Joseph Campbell. I think that maybe the wise people who create a framework around the event to make it less scary, that could be the movie theater or the fact that we know it's a movie, but our body mind also knows that it's really happening. I mean, neuroscience says that we feel it as though it's really happening. And then this movie is we watched it in 3D, so it's even more immersive. Um, I yeah, our media mediate these experiences. So most of us are not having them directly. We're not literally encountering a monster except within us. Um, but there's so many of them that the other thing I'm wondering is, do you think if a person keeps refusing the monster, whether it's the monster outside or the monster inside, that that monster will continue to show up for them until they deal with it in some way?
Change forms over and over again. It'll do it shape shifting. Um,
Yeah.
I had, as you know, a bunch of experiences in the last 8 years or so where uh, I had a financial disaster, uh, and I was devastated and humiliated, and my brother died, and I was shocked and stunned and didn't know what to do. And then I got very sick and almost died.
Right.
Those monsters spoke to me profoundly then. And when I began to confront them because I had to, or I thought I would die.
Yeah.
I had had a heart attack years ago, and the doctor had said to me, "Open up your heart and learn to love life again, because that's why you had this heart attack." And I said, "You're telling me that I'm at risk of dying if I don't open up?" And I mean, like, that's a contradictory thing. And he said, "No, it's not." And he was right. It was not contradictory at all. At the moment when I was closest to death in a hospital, my scary monster voices disappeared entirely. I didn't tell them to go away. I was sick and struggling. I was just trying to survive. I was reduced to the bare nubbin of what a human being can be. And what I experienced then was so reassuring that it's stunning. I just felt calm and natural. I just felt aware that I'm a part of nature and that it's very natural to be very sick. It's very natural to die. And it's
Mhm.
very natural to want to live. And I felt a rush of healing coming over me that my conscious mind had nothing to do with. It noticed it and it made way for it.
Mm.
This,
Yeah, that's the expansion that you were talking about. That if we engage the ritual, which is also often the reality, your reality, properly, we really engage, we become bigger, we become supported. I mean, I don't have the experience you had, but I'm just bowing to that experience.
I would say we all had these experiences in our own ways. Mine were quite dramatic, but other people have them and they're just as powerful or more
For
powerful.
sure, for sure. I do have longer, less dramatic. Yeah, I mean, that's the transformation I'm really interested in.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think as we close, I wanted to know if you would tell everyone listening the name of the Soyinka book. I know the Somé book is Of Water and the Spirit
That's
by
right.
Malidoma Somé, Some, Of Water and the Spirit. That's his memoir. And he has other books as well. And then Wole Soyinka's, it looks like Soyinka, Soyinka, maybe Soyinka. Tell me go ahead and show.
The book is Myth, Literature, and the African World.
Okay. And that was published quite a while ago.
In 1976,
Okay.
Cambridge University Press, and it's very professorial, but the language is the language of a beautiful, beautiful writer, which is he is. He, my experience of reading him is you are aware that you're in the presence of a mind that's much greater than your own, and he doesn't. He's not trying to. He's not trying to be greater than you. He's
You
just
just did.
still
Yeah.
by what he's saying, and it's just lovely.
So you can really surrender to that mind.
Right.
I want to thank you so much, Tony, for sharing this. And I find it very reassuring. And I bet everyone else is as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Beth.